Welcome to the NAIF Ball Live Show powered by Adcraft Custom Apparel and Merch, your custom apparel merch and uniform experts since 1974. The GOATs, the best in the uniform industry. You got to check them out. The web stores are well worth your time. And support the people who support the show. We've got both of us back. I'm in the home studio again. Still having internet issues, but man, Matt, we talked about last week just how good this week had a chance of being. And honestly, I think it surpassed all expectation.
Yeah, I think it over-delivered, which is saying a lot because I don't know how it could have from what we expected, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the one game that doesn't make our box scores later, just because neither of them are ranked. But good grief, what a week! And it started really early with I'll put it like this: there's a line from Mean Girls. Stop trying to make fetch happen. Fetch is never going to happen. And I feel really bad.
Great movie, by the way. Great movie. Great quote.
I feel bad for St. Francis of Illinois because they keep trying to make the Franciscan Bowl happen. That name's already taken.
Yeah.
Either way, the Franciscan Bowl Part 2, Catholic Boogaloo.
Sounds like a real fun time.
Hey, look, man. Lots of Hail Marys were said in this game. St. Francis takes the win, and the outright lead in the Midstates Midwest with a 28-20 upset of St. Francis of Indiana. And honestly, this one is pretty easy to figure out. USF of Indiana barely got to third down, and when they did, they were converting almost half the time.
Yeah, that'll pretty much do it for you. And obviously, going 7 for 15 as opposed to 7 for 21, big difference on the flip side. Obviously, a big win for St. Francis, Indiana. Honestly, they kind of came out of nowhere this year for me. I had the St. Francis, Illinois team as winning this game this year pretty easily. I was clearly incorrect, so I will eat crow on that one.
I'll note the Indiana defense there, forcing Sam Tumulty to throw 37 times.
Yeah,
is generally a good way to win against the Illinois side of things.
absolutely. Big clip for Sam there, but only connecting on 17 of those. It's not necessarily a recipe for success if that's your main weapon of choice on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is big. I mean, this is St. Francis of Indiana's first year in the Midstates Midwest. They are very much enjoying the new digs because, like you said, early on in the year, they did not look particularly good. But you're also playing most of your games against the Mideast. And it's really hard to look good against a team like Indiana Wesleyan, who's beating the living crap out of everyone they play. So, yeah, we sort of had to hold serve and see what would happen once you got into Midwest play. And honestly, the Cougars have very much established a stranglehold on the division, and I think they would tell you that is their rightful spot.
Yeah, I think so. And they clawed up there. They look really good right now. I put them in my top 25. You can't not after a win like this, in my opinion, with the season that they've had. So
next up on the docket is a game that had significantly less offense than what literally everyone thought was going to happen, and that is going to be Morningside Northwestern, a 13-7.
The Big Ten is infecting everything around it, unfortunately.
It's disgusting.
That is what this is the result of.
I mean, now, both defenses came to play, but honestly,
Yeah.
Morningside holding Northwestern to 6 of 20 on 3rd and 4th down conversions. That's a great way to win the ball game, because if you're going 30% or less on 3rd downs, you're probably not going to win. Ask me how I know as a Florida State fan.
Yeah. I won't. I know it's a sore subject, so I'm just going to leave that one alone. But yeah, Morningside taking this matchup as historically they've done pretty well in this game usually. But man, Northwestern, it is shocking the past couple of weeks, like how they've looked. They're the fall from grace of the Northwestern from last year. Obviously, they're still they're still a good team. It's just they were such a step up. And this is a game where you had to tap into that. And the guys played well. Obviously, Hayden Grews and Peyton Carroll having good connections on the day. But man, I don't know. I just don't feel good about this for Northwestern.
If they lose against Dordt this week, I have a feeling that it's going to be the first time we do not see Northwestern in our top 25 since we've been polling.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
We are in uncharted territory.
Yeah.
And it's very weird. I cannot tell you the double take I did in my poll this week, putting Concordia ahead of them.
Yeah.
It was like,
I've not had Northwestern in my top 25 for like 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
So it's weird, and I don't like it. But this team is not playing like a 25th best team right now.
Yeah, not at all.
But you know who played like a 25th best team last week was the Bulldogs from McPherson, pulling the first KCAC loss for Evangel in school history. Tristan Zabo setting school records as he does it for career marks. Jaleel Brown getting it done, the leading receiver and leading rusher for McPherson.
That's absurd.
And I tell you, it was by the finest of margins here, but look, Evangel just turned the ball over too much.
Mm-hmm. That's the story at the end of the day. Hot story, 2 picks. They were only throwing 1. I mean, that's the main difference. The 3rd and 4th down conversion slightly favors McPherson as well. This was this McPherson team was like 26-27 for me
100%.
The previous week, and I was so excited to see this matchup. And they delivered and they capitalized. They absolutely skyrocketed in my poll. This McPherson team looks really, really good, and they are in a similar spot to where we had them last year. Kind of this on the edge team. I apologize for the barking dog. Selfish, I thought. But yeah, what a huge win for this program.
Looking, because I'm going to yes. Wait a minute. I'm gonna pull back the curtain a little bit, and you know,
man,
we tried to say I told you so, but
yeah,
we weren't completely wrong on this one.
No.
But yeah, no. We've been McPherson stands for the last couple of years, and
yes.
it's really nice to actually see them pulling off these top tier wins and honestly putting themselves in contention to win their side of the KCAC.
Yeah, they're in a fantastic spot right now. I do believe they kind of have a stretch to close out their season, don't they?
Yeah, they have. Pull it up here because I do have that on.
Because I'm pretty sure they have to play Southwestern.
They do.
And they still have to play Friends.
It's Friends Southwestern to close out the season, and it's that's an awful tough stretch. But
yeah,
look, even if you don't make it, you've had your moment in the sun now, and now everyone sort of has to take you seriously.
For sure. I think there's going to be a lot of reevaluation of this team for the last two games of the season when they hit the film room. So, man, sky's the limit for this McPherson team. It seems like they're playing really good football. Their offense is super balanced. Jalil Brown is just a baller. I mean, my goodness. Um, Sky's the limit, man.
Another team that we've been high on and have been talking about all season and now has a chance to make some noise is Campbellsville. They were able to get just enough points to take out a Bethel team that is honestly really struggling offensively right now. Can't find the quarterback that they want. Cade Hewitt was the guy who started against Thomas in a monsoon rainstorm. I'm honestly surprised they let him throw the ball 12 times.
Yeah.
Because when I watched him throw, albeit in the rain, it wasn't pretty.
Yeah. It's always interesting this point in the year. I feel like there's always a Mid-South team that is like ranked and has 5 or 6 wins, and they are like 1-4 in conference.
Yeah. I mean, I think last
'Cause
year was Campbellsville.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, the Campbellsville, again, defense came to play because even though Bethel converted 50% of their third and fourth down conversions, that defense had 3 forced fumbles and an interception along with 7 sacks, 11 tackles for loss. That is putting yourself behind the 8 ball for that offense.
Yeah. Just a great game for Campbellsville. And they're legit. They've played well all season. They had an easier stretch to begin the year and everybody was questioning it, but they are among the top now. They're up there. So it's fun to see. I'm excited to see how the Mid-South honestly closes out.
Yeah. No, that is
with where everyone's at.
That's the truth because Lindsey Wilson really helped their case.
Yep.
Because that's a win over and at the time ranked in the NAI coaches poll, Cumberland of Tennessee. You remember the issues Lindsey had last year with not having any top 25 victories. Well, now they have victories over Campbellsville and Cumberland, who are ranked at the time.
And Campbellsville if they weren't last week, for sure they will be this week.
Yeah, and they were when Lindsey played them.
Yeah.
And so that is an absolutely huge win. And the only thing that really separates these two teams are the fact that Brian Kelly ran back a punt for a touchdown. Really and truly, that's all the difference between the two. But then we had the game that we were all waiting for, the main course. That was Mid-America Nazarene Benedictine, and it did not disappoint in the slightest. Both quarterbacks throwing for 5 touchdowns each, all about averaging dagnum near 400 yards. This is what we thought Morningside Northwestern was going to be.
Yes, that's exactly what we thought it was going to be. We got it, just in a different form. But man, this Mid-America Nazarene team, they're legit. They're legit.
They are.
I am willing to also eat crow on this because my goodness, I thought Benedictine was a legitimate top 4 team and national contender. Not that they're not anymore. This is just a Mid-American Nazarene team that has proved themselves with this win. Yeah. Nice gunslinger battle. Always love one of those. It's weird because on one side of the spectrum, I love run heavy and sickos triple option football, and then you go to the other side of the spectrum and it's like, but also I like seeing 10 touchdowns being thrown.
Yeah, no joke. And honestly, I love watching a game where you go super ballsy and you fail a 2-point conversion with 7 seconds left. I am in no way going to fault you. You know what? I'm going to save that I told you so for later. We'll make a call back to that later. Going out west, Carroll continues to beat not just other teams in the Frontier, but continues to be undefeated against Chaos with a look, I don't know how long they can keep fending off the Frontier Chaos Demon, but they've done a whale of a job so far.
I've never seen a team this effective at warding that evil spirit out of their system. I am baffled. I'm speechless, floored, flabbergasted, appalled, honestly.
Gunnar Yates,
but
my
Carroll, you by God have figured it out. And granted, the season's not over, so still an opportunity. But getting this far through it, honestly, is an accomplishment of itself. So
I just want to give props to Gunnar Yates. Honestly, 28 attempts for 68 yards. Your leading rusher, your leading receiver with 3 receptions for 63 yards. I mean, look, the guy put the team on his shoulders. Not quite enough. The Southern Oregon defense just cannot get Carroll off the field reliably, almost 60%.
Yeah.
On 3rd and 4th down conversions, and this Carroll team will continue to be tested.
Yeah, they will continue to be tested, but honestly, with Jack Perka leading that team, I'm fully confident they will get it done. Gunnar Yates, another guy who I feel like we mention every week, whether this Southern Oregon team has won or lost. Definitely still in contention for probably player of the year, for sure in his conference, potentially nationally. Definitely needs his flowers. I don't think we can sing his praises enough.
Yeah, that is 100% true. So we flash from west to east. St. Thomas wins a squeaker.
Many good games, man.
So many good games.
So wild.
They just keep coming. They every time you think you're done, there's another one. Now, St. Thomas did a fantastic job. We talked about how St. Francis of Indiana forced Sam Tumulty to throw the ball. St. Thomas did the same thing to Southeastern. Henry Ostad does not like to throw the ball around 32 times in a game. He would much rather run the ball. And, that interception turned into 6 points for St. Thomas, and that there is that's your ball game in a nutshell.
Yeah, this the fire didn't quite pull it out. They probably should have brought one more extra flamethrower out with them for the pregame, because that's what I said was the difference maker. But man, I kept the Southeastern team ranked this week, because if you give Kaiser this much of an issue, you've impressed me. So
yeah, I mean, they've given
hats off to them. They're a legit top 25 team.
They've given both St. Thomas and Kaiser all they want, and that is legitimately concerning. And you've got to be looking at them for a fringe playoff team. If you're a Southeastern fan, you've got to be rooting for chalk. Honestly,
I'd love to see Henry Ostad in a playoff game with this Southeastern team as a sleeper pick. Man, that'd be fun. They're climbing up there. They're proving to the rest of the country that they are still the top team, and St. Thomas is also still way up there, albeit probably a couple games closer than they've wanted it to be the past few weeks. But wins are wins. You got to win whether you look good or not. So, yeah,
that's true.
These teams are playing chalk, but they both look really good.
And then one last game, we go right back out west, and Eastern Oregon pulls the upset over College of Idaho, and boy, Heidi, was I wrong.
Eastern Oregon does this twice a year, and it's so funny every time it happens.
And yet, I think the frustrating part is College of Idaho's defense stood on their darn head and allowed 18.2% on third and fourth down.
Yeah.
They stood on their head, but so did
Mhm.
Eastern Oregon, and College of Idaho's offense was just handing the ball over to Eastern Oregon's defense with a shameable regularity.
Yeah. Uh, like I said, this is just further proof that what Carroll's doing is just impossible, and I don't know how it's happening.
Right? Oh,
So,
man.
but man, Eastern Oregon, good for you guys. I'm always happy to see an Eastern Oregon win. I love those helmets.
They're
The
sweet.
white and the navy 50-50. It's so sick.
Now,
So,
one that we didn't get to because neither of them were ranked, but we talked about it. We talked about it last week. We said U Pike can win the AAC outright with a win against Point, and well, they don't. They hand the ball over to Point with like a minute and change left. Pike drives the field, doinks the go-ahead field goal off the cross or off the upright. Oh, but wait, U Pike called a timeout. Look, they've done studies. Don't ice the kicker. It doesn't matter.
yeah.
Um, but they gave Point a second chance and sunk it, and that's going to cause problems that we'll get to later. That I'm still seeking answers to because they're problems that are not in the rules of how to choose a winner. But what never creates problems is Connor Darnell and his designs. They are phenomenal. They are clean. They are amazing. The man makes amazing product graphically. Give him a call, whether it's looking at doing schedules and making that work, whether it's designing your graphics package like we had him do for us this last year, whether it's giving your entire conference a heads up as he's doing for the Sooner Athletic Conference in this coming year, doing all the graphics for the Sooner. Give my man a call. Reach out to him. He is one of the best in the nation, and we are so thankful for what he is doing for us week in, week out, and some really great work. And with that, we'll get to this media poll here, and there's a little bit of a shakeup. We have Morningside right back up in that third spot.
Ooh.
That and a tie for fourth between Indiana Wesleyan and St. Thomas.
All right. Nobody can point a finger at me anymore. I admitted I was wrong about Indiana Wesleyan. This is not my fault. I don't condone this. I need that to let the record show. Morningside. Hey, I will give Morningside their props. They're playing really good football right now. It's just the dominance we've seen from Indiana Wesleyan right now. I personally think Indiana Wesleyan should be ranked ahead of them, but I get it. So
yeah, a couple of things you do see Benedictine drop down at number 10. That seems fair. Carroll up 4 as they continue to ward off demons. Let's see. Southern Oregon.
Seeing that McPherson Bulldog is so nice.
Yeah, they're at 22. Is new in the poll this week. Southern Oregon falls 7. That Dickinson State team is just hanging on there, getting a spot here and there. But one of the things that I will gripe about really, really quickly is poor Evangel. Down 3, Friends goes up 1, and you just beat Friends like 2 weeks ago, and now you're right back behind them.
Yeah.
You know.
Polls are a cruel place.
They really are. And a couple things that you won't see on the receiving votes end is that you do have a couple of teams that are newly receiving votes. Matt's St. Francis team, and then I went looking, and you know what? Graceland's only got one loss. It's not a bad time to sneak them into the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Especially with the way that, like, on this poll, Northwestern's looked. I feel like Dickinson State could be a bad game away from dropping entirely. Like, there's some room. There's some room for movement here as the season closes out.
Yeah, 100%. And there's so many teams that are looking to get in, but there's only room for 20 here in a couple weeks. And well, we'll talk about that and more after a word from our friends from Adcraft. If it'll actually play. Cannot play media. Well, we'll just talk about them then. Fantastic.
I love Adcraft.
They are amazing. They support us week in, week out. Have no idea why they can't play. That bothers the stew out of me. It plays every week and then decides to go out this week. That's not like Adcraft. They are remarkably consistent.
Nice.
And their quality is unmatched. I love the stuff that I've gotten. They're creative, hardworking, good prices on their stuff. Give them a call. Reach out to them and get a web store going. Get some good gear for your team and your fans. Handle everything for you. Now is a good time to start looking at it, especially if you're a team that's in that 30 to 40 range, kind of that mid tier of the NAI, and you want to start seeing if you can raise some money for next year and start to look at that and maybe get a little bit of money into your football program. It's a good place to start. Contact them at adcraftsports.com, and we appreciate their sponsorship of the NAIF Ball Live show. Players of the week were hard this week. I don't know why. Some weeks it's like you get like you hear an angelic choir and spotlight on like two.
Yeah.
This week was not that. It was a hard one. So we went with Roosevelt Cage offensively, getting 2 bills on the ground on 28 carries, 3 touchdowns against a Concordia team that, honestly, Matt, kept up with Indiana Wesleyan for a good half and a little change afterwards.
Yeah, Concordia's had a very scrappy second half of their season. Kind of getting out the gate, so it was fun to see them go toe to toe with this Indiana Wesleyan team. But when you go for 200 plus yards and 3 touchdowns, going to be hard for your opponent to keep up. So makes sense.
Then on the other side, we get to feature those helmets that Matt just raves about.
God, they're so pretty. Look at them.
I know, and
Aren't
you
they?
can see why they are gorgeous. This is a defensive back, by the way. I assume probably a strong safety by the numbers. 19 tackles, 2 tackles for loss.
He's built, dude. Look at him.
My dude's jacked. Blaine Shaw, Eastern Oregon, in that upset of College of Idaho. Sometimes it's not enough to have a amazing performance against a pitiful team. Sometimes you got to factor in quality of opponent. I think that's what got Blaine Shaw this week. Congratulations to both of them. We'll get you out some swag here shortly so you can show it off and strike fear in the hearts of your opponents. What to watch for is Holy Christmas. Okay. The bane of my existence, the 2 p.m. kickoff. I hate it with a passion. I don't have enough screens for this. What am I supposed to do here? 7, 12, 9, 14, 22, 19, 25, 15, twice, and 20. All at the same time. All at the same time. Okay.
There's going to be a lot of rewatching and recording of games this weekend.
No joke. All right, this is where I'm going to make the call back here, Matt. That game, Mid-American Nazarene versus Baker, will reignite the grudge match.
Oh, there we go.
This is where we see which one of us is really the smart one here.
That's kind of awkward, actually. I'm not going to lie. I was going to pick. But not anymore.
Not anymore, boys. We're going right. Look,
Baker.
man. Look, man. We have to. It is not enough for us to change our minds. We cannot change our minds. We must double down on our picks.
I have a hill to die on.
Yeah, I am Mid-American Nazarene for me. Yeah, that one's gonna be so good. I'm so looking forward to this.
Yeah, go Baker, man. Always been a big Baker fan. And Truman Yulesgard. So there. How about it?
Yulesgard versus Parsons. That's gonna be a whale of a battle. Yeah,
I'm excited.
I'm going with the Nears. Dordt Northwestern, as if Northwestern didn't have enough to deal with after Morningside. Now you get Dordt, and this is a rivalry game, and as their fans keep telling me, they really don't like each other.
No, they hate each other, actually. I've seen it firsthand. It's horrifying. And I thought that like Morningside and Northwestern didn't like each other, but that's more of like they're both really good, which is why they don't like each other. Not that Dort's not good, but like this is like old school
hatred.
These teams hate each other kind of stuff. So
yeah, there's a reason there's a rivalry in FBS called good old fashioned hate.
Yeah,
this is that. This is good old fashioned hate right here. Shit.
It's the only time Iowans will be mean to each other is during this game.
And they share a Walmart as we talk about every year, which is
they sure do.
Which is the standard of rivalry in the state of Iowa.
Yep.
Friends travels to McPherson. Can McPherson put it together for 2 weeks in a row and get another top 25 win? Oh, wait, we didn't pick Dordt Northwestern. I'm going Dordt.
I'm going Dordt. There you go.
Friends in McPherson.
Give me McPherson. I will be watching this game, hands under chin, kicking my feet in the background because I'm so excited to watch these two teams in a top 25 matchup. So, but I got McPherson here.
Give me Friends. Give me Friends on that. Yeah.
I just picked my dark horse over my conference winner. Don't ask me why.
Logic does not form here. No.
Don't ask about what I said literally 2 games ago.
Look, Friends is on the ropes here. They have to have a win in order to return to the picture of conference championship, and that may be at this point the only way they're going to make the playoffs. Because it's really competitive, and you can't include them all. Give me Friends with their backs against the wall. Hopefully it won't be stormy this week like it was last week.
Yeah.
And then you have Evangel Southwestern, another KCAC game. Evangel's licking their wounds. Southwestern's got a chance to put Evangel away. Another Evangel loss, and it becomes a McPherson Southwestern Friends 3-part harmony there, with Southwestern then playing McPherson the next week to effectively decide a championship.
Yeah. Sick.
You know what? Give me Evangel in this one. You just got kicked in the teeth. Practice is not going to be fun. And give me Evangel to show that they belong at the top and deserve a playoff spot here?
I'm using the same logic to also pick Evangel. I think that last week was a bit of a wake-up call for them, and they are ready to bounce back and punch somebody in the mouth. Southwestern's a fantastic football team.
Yep.
They've been having a great year. They could definitely make it happen, but pissed off Evangel. I don't know.
Yeah.
They'll be really good. So give me Evangel.
Georgetown at Campbellsville. Georgetown staying above the fray. Campbellsville trying to scrap for a playoff spot. As good as the Georgetown rushing attack has been, it's starting to get cold. The rushing attacks start to get more and more chilly and hard to tackle. Give me Georgetown in this one with some good old-fashioned running the football. And I don't know that this one's going to clinch the conference for them. Let me look at them, Mid-South. No, because they still have to play Lindsay, who still has one loss. But a win here helps give insurance to get a playoff seed, even if you lose to Lindsey Wilson. And honestly, I don't think I've ever covered a season of NAIA football without Chris Oliver in the playoffs in some form or fashion.
Yeah. So yeah, it's an intriguing matchup. I got to go with Campbellsville. They're playing really good football. I don't know. It's just really tugging at my heart that I think Campbellsville's going to win here.
I mean, that's valid. I mean, at this point, anything can happen in the Mid-South.
No kidding. I think that has been proven week in, week out. So Campbellsville legit, like, playing fantastic football. They have a shot. And if they win, I like their odds in a potential playoff game. So.
And then our 3 o'clock. Will Montana Western be the demonic force that finally pulls Carroll out of an undefeated run in the Frontier? Right now, Montana Western is the only other team in the Frontier that only has one conference loss. Montana Tech and Southern Oregon both have 2. A win here clinches the Frontier for Carroll outright. Montana Western, honestly, you would have to go to next week to make sure that you don't lose at Eastern Oregon, but it would put them in the driver's seat for it. Oh, man. I know where you're going because Montana Western was your natty pick.
Yeah, I can't really get away from that one. I got to go with Montana Western here. Probably against my better judgment, but Michael Polandri will save me this weekend.
Polandri is so good. There's so many good quarterbacks in the Frontier between Ashuto, Perka, Polandri, the kid that Hinchman's going to roast me over the coals for because I can't remember from Tech. Thielen. There we go.
Hey, shout out Maple Valley, Washington. Polandri, if you're watching. Big dog. I see you, man.
Shoot, fire and fuzzies. I'm going to have to go for Western as well. I'm going to say that Carroll is going to finally succumb. Doing this twice is hard enough. Pulling it off 3 weeks in a row is going to be nigh on impossible.
The demon claims all.
The Frontier chaos comes for all teams. So, take a look at Bracketology. It's about dang time.
It's time.
It is time. And these
probably
are
a week later than we wanted because
very much so.
But
and honestly, at this point, these are really swags, otherwise known as scientific wild butt guesses. And you may, depending on how good they are, I may or may not hold to them. if they're really good, I'm going to look at this and say, hey, I'm a genius. If they suck, then I'll say, well, I was wrong. For locks, Dickinson State, who I've got 6th, has already clinched. They are fully locked. They cannot not be in the playoffs. Other 5 teams still have a tiny bit of work to do. Kaiser, with a win, clinches their spot. Grandview's got a little bit to go, but I think they're in either way. Indiana Wesleyan, I think, can clinch this week with a win of any sort. Morningside, I think, is the same way. And Tex West, I'm fairly certain a win against Langston clinches their spot. But those 5 teams, I'm pretty certain that even if they lost out, would probably still be in the playoffs.
They'd have to do some abhorrent garbage to not make it.
It would be hard for them to miss the playoffs. Now, the next group is honestly the biggest group. And that's, you're not on the bubble, but you aren't, if you do screw up, you're really close to being on the outside looking in. Montana Western, Montana Tech. Whoever loses more, honestly. Pull up my Frontier Conference standings here real quick. Both Western and Tech, if Western loses to Carroll, will be 2-2 in against top 25 opponents. I think one of them makes it, but not both. And that's based on last year as well, that we did get 3 Frontier teams in. St. Thomas, if they don't do something silly and lose to Thomas, then they're in Flynn. If they lose to Thomas, I am going to have a hard time putting them in the playoffs. Dordt Northwestern, honestly, the loser may be out, especially if it's Northwestern. Dordt may still be able to find their way in if they lose to Northwestern. Mid-American Nazarene is probably in. You still need to not screw up because Benedictine and Baker are knocking at the door. And if you lose to Baker,
yeah, you're you're in a bad spot.
You're in a really bad spot. And at this point, I think if Baker loses, they're out. I think I think one of Benedictine and Baker will get in, but not both. Georgetown, again, just needs to not fall. McPherson or Southwestern, honestly, or Friends. That is basically the KCAC Kessinger second team. I honestly do think that the second team out of the Kessinger may be good enough in the eyes of the coaches to get an at-large, which is wild, but here we are. The AAC champ, I haven't the foggiest who it is because we have some small problems here with how that's decided. If all goes chalk through the rest of the season, then we will have a 3-way tie for first place where every team in that 3-way tie has lost to one other team in that 3-way tie and only one other team in that 3-way tie. None of them are in the top 25.
That's awesome.
And none of them are even in their top 8 in their section of the arc.
What's the tiebreaker GPA?
The tiebreaker is who's highest in the top 25, and if no one's in the top 25, the tiebreaker is who's highest in the arc.
It should be GPA. That'd be funny.
I
at this point.
I have reached out to the AAC for comment. I have not yet heard back.
They're like, we don't know, man. Don't ask
That is honestly what I think is occurring. Is they're going, we were not financially prepared for this.
We were not ready for this. We were not prepared.
Apparently, I really believe in Montana Western because I wrote them in twice.
They're just that exciting,
They're
huh?
just that exciting. The KCAC Bissell champ because they have to be in, even though none of the three teams that are left that have possibility make me jump for joy and make me excited. Sorry, K-Dub fans. And then St. Francis of Indiana, obviously, if you clinch, you're in. But otherwise, you've still got work to do. Bubble teams. The other one of Montana Western or Tech, especially if Montana Western wins against Carroll. This might be Carroll or Tech. Because they had that matchup there at the end of the year where Tech's already beaten Carroll once in non-conference play. I think that's going to be a fun one. 2, Graceland. Graceland's, I was corrected, a 2-loss team. Haven't played Grandview yet. But if they beat Grandview, then they take the conference championship. I honestly wonder if they make it extremely competitive against Grandview, if they might find their way in.
They very well could. They very well could. They're playing good enough.
I do think that one of Benedict and Baker are on the bubble right now. It's more likely at this point that it's Baker, because they have the one loss between the two, with the game to play against Mid-American NAS. One of Southwestern and Evangel, they ain't all getting in. One of them is that bubble's popping. And then I think Lindsay, again, being on the outside looking in for a second straight year, you have got to go out and you've got to put up style points. Especially, what would actually work really well for you is if you whipped Bethel's rear end on Saturday. If you beat down Bethel, that's even if you lose to Georgetown, you might still have a chance. It's a small chance.
Yeah. Still a chance.
But it's still a chance because I am fairly certain that is who Campbellsville lost to. Let me look that up and make sure. Yeah, because Lindsey Wilson's the only one that has given Campbellsville a loss. So that to me would put them above Campbellsville, all things being equal. But right now it's honestly very fluid with what's going on. Pitt Steeler says Concordia, Nebraska, not a potential. It's going to be really, really hard for Concordia to make a claim for it, as they've lost to Dort and Morningside. That's going to be a toughie, and they weren't particularly competitive against Morningside. That was a 30-point loss. And honestly,
does Concordia still have to play Dort?
No, they lost to Dort by 11.
And they beat Northwestern, and they have to play. No, they lost to Morningside.
The only team left on their schedule is Midland.
I mean, if you beat Midland,
Northwestern, you have to spank the crap out of them, and hope that Northwestern gets their butt.
Yeah, if Dort beats down Northwestern, there's a there's a very outside, granted, a lot of things would have to happen, but
Here's
outside chance.
here's why I'm saying no. You are 1-2 against the top 25. You just the quality of opponent that you have beaten has not been a top 25 opponent. And when all things are equal, that's what they're looking at. Ask Lindsay. Last year they pulled an offer against the top 25. That's honestly why I'm keeping Tech in this, is because they have that win over Georgetown to begin the season. They have that top 25 win there. And they've got to win over a good Carroll team like the very next week. You've got the quality wins that will help you down the stretch. That's going to be a really, really tough case for Concordia. It'd be the same for Graceland, honestly, because let's see. Who do they play? Let's pull up Graceland's. Let me pull this up real quick. Nothing like doing this live. Football schedule. Who are their two losses to? Their two losses are to Moval and at Mid-American Nazarene by 14 points, which is not terrible. The terrible thing is the loss to Moval. That's honestly why they're on the bubble. To me, is because of that. I mean, you've done okay otherwise. You beat the teams in front of you, and you beat a dome team out of the GPAC, which you're honestly going to have to beat Grandview in order to catch that. I don't know. It's so hard this late in the season, and this is the first time that I can remember that it's been this difficult this late to be able to reliably say this team or that team is likely on the outside looking in. Like 2 weeks to go, I generally have a pretty good idea. I
feel like we're a lot more filtered down by this point, though.
We are.
It's so cloudy right now still.
But I mean, but you look at this.
Yeah, that's true. There's going to be a lot sorted.
We've got so much clarity coming. Let's take a look at it. If Baker beats Mid-American Nazarene, now we will go to the Wheel of Chaos in the Heart South. If Mid-American Nazarene wins, you've got a Benedictine team with a really good win against Morningside early in the season. That's going to speak volumes. You may be able to get that shot. I don't think. Let me pull Baker's schedule again just to make sure I'm not going to be like really wrong. Yeah, they did not play any sort of quality opponent to start the year. They played St. Ambrose.
Shout out to St. Ambrose, man. For real.
Yeah, but that might be the millstone around Baker's neck.
Yeah.
Because if they lose to Mid-America, they don't have anything to fall back on, whereas Benedictine does. Dordt Northwestern, if Northwestern ends up winning this thing, then it's just a free-for-all. I do not expect that to happen. Same thing with the two games in the KCAC. We will know so much more about the Kessinger division 1 week from tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully. Yeah, no joke. Because right now it's like, let me pull in here. McPherson's 3-0. Evangel, Friends, and Southwestern are all at 2-1. So no matter what, because of the Evangel Southwestern game, one of those is eliminated. Out of Evangel and Southwestern, we will not have 4 teams next week. It'll be down to 3. And possibly, if with a win against Friends, McPherson would be in the driver's seat with basically 1 to play. And Southwestern may, if Southwestern loses against Evangel, then they can only play spoiler. If they win against Evangel, they have a chance to set up chaos. Georgetown, Campbellsville, it's the same thing. If Campbellsville can bring Georgetown back to the field, we have chaos. And if you're Southeastern on the outside looking in, and you're saying you've got all this is a real problem for you, because you'll notice that their name was not on this list at all, even though their 2 losses were to phenomenal teams by single scores.
Kind of wild.
It's it's kind of like Friends last year. Their sole loss was to Evangel. Someone's gonna get hung out to dry. It happens every single year. You got to take care of business with the teams that are in front of you that you have on your schedule. And now is the time to be able to do it and to put up serious amounts of style points. Joseph Snyder says Dort versus Northwestern, first year Dort wins. Let me look up the history here. They cannot be winless against Northwestern all time. I would be sort of shocked. Oh well, they are. Dort. I'm going to call Dort breaking the streak.
Yeah, that's a fact.
I'm a little shocked. That's 17 games. That's really hard to do.
Yeah, Dort was like very not good. Like 8 or 9 years ago.
Joel Penner has done work.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, you look at the last 2. I mean, a 35-14 loss. You're within 3 scores of a team which went to the national championship, and then you got another crack at them, and you limited them to 7 points. It's been close in recent years, but yeah, I'm saying Dort gets over the hump, just like USF of Illinois got over the hump against St. X. What games this week could cause the most unexpected realignment in the KCAC? Does the realignment look at 1 or 2 past seasons? I want to say it looks at 3. I think it looks at 3. It's at least 2. But yeah, the KCAC, honestly, they should have skipped the COVID year when they counted to split the divisions. That really screwed things up. But yeah, I think it's the past 2 seasons, and they'll realign after this year. But obviously, both of those games, Evangel Southwestern, Friends, Friends McPherson, are going to be very good games. I mean, you look at the Kessinger division, just as a whole. And other than the 4 teams I've talked about, you still haven't talked about Bethel, which Bethel's having a down year. They lost their coach like 2 weeks before the season started. That's going to cause a crappy season. And Bethany has not been bad. In point of fact, Bethany is 3-3 against teams not in their division.
That's not bad from where they've been.
You put Bethany in the Bissell, and they have eliminated both Tabor and Sterling. Maybe they're not touching Kansas Wesleyan, but if you swapped out the cellar dwellers between the KCAC divisions, Kansas Wesleyan already has the Bissell tied up in a nice pretty bow. Yeah. Let's see. Any other comments here? Otherwise, we will. Y'all can still put them in. I'll go for our patrons. The best, the greatest. Love them to death. They are the ones that make this thing go. The ones that make small college football coverage happen. And they are DSU Cone, Bob Boone, Roger Meyer, Jeremy Vobble, Fred Christensen, Ace Wellen, Brett, Marty Seabolt, Nick Ryan, Kyle Gregory, Tyler Pierce, Justin Hoffman, Steve Speakman, Brian Shake, Julian Shager, Nate Soapbeer, Stephen Cutler, Julie Lout, Dale Norton, Nathan Moore, Ryan, Jason Crawford, Charles A. Flowers, Todd, Nick Shaw, Chamberlain, Zach Lance, Josue Trujillo, Casey Willison, Carol C. Suggs, Chris Hinchman 21, Derek Flowers, Jason Garnon, USF Sucks, Chris Sweener, Ian Brookshire, Joey Breckel, and Coca Nicholas. Love it, love it, love it. Roger says good night. I do want to give one shout out before we actually officially say good night. Freaking Weber International University has been here for the drama.
Kidding.
The last couple of weeks. They are getting absolutely no love because, to be fair, they have losses against Campbellsville, Southeastern, and Florida Memorial. But they made life very difficult for St. Thomas 2 weeks ago, and they absolutely gave Kaiser all they wanted last week. And it now looks that they've rescheduled a game against Thomas in Thomasville, Georgia, the first week of the playoffs. And I have feelings about that, and I think they want to get a little bit more development time in on their guys. Don't blame them for that, but I'm certain that when I go see Steve Speakman and my buddy Reagan, that before the game I'll be like, this one's kind of all y'all. They're having a really good back half of the season. But anyway, we thank you for listening to the NAIAF Ball Live show powered by Adcraft, custom apparel and merch. And keep up with us. We'll have everything coming out on the socials so you can see it again and really pick us apart. If you're a patron, you'll get to see the poll breakdown as well as get early access to the viewing guide. But other than that, we wish you a good night, and we will see y'all on the Twitter feed. We streamed for a freaking hour, dude.
There's a lot of crap going on, dude.